Hello, this is another FOA in 15. I'm Justin FOA, President and CEO of FOA & Son, and I'm joined by Bernard Goldman, our General Counsel. Today, we're talking about reporting COVID-19 business interruption claims. This is sort of a follow-up to our original webinar discussing strategies and potential recoveries under the business interruption section of property policies with regard to COVID-19 contamination and shutdowns. So Bernie, why don't you give us a quick level set on what our guidance was before and sort of where we stand.
So previously we talked about the challenges that existed in property insurance policies for any type of business interruption recovery. We also talked about the initial arguments that the insurance companies were making. And their top arguments were that there's no actual damage to the insured property. Since the time that we initially laid that out, we've been monitoring the cases. Our counsel at that time was, you know what, don't rush to report a claim. For the simple reason that as the lawsuits evolve, and there were a number of initial lawsuits, watching them, seeing what cases, if any, get traction from an insured point of view would be beneficial. We haven't seen really any of them getting significant traction from the insured point of view. So several of the cases have resulted in the lawsuits against the insurance companies being dismissed. Initial motion process. That argument that COVID-19 shutdowns do not constitute a physical damage or direct physical loss seems to have been pretty successful in most jurisdictions. There are still a number of lawsuits that are alive, so to speak. I mean, they haven't been dismissed, but we have yet to see any where the insured has made significant headway.
Gotcha. Let's talk a little bit about what we're seeing from insurance companies when claims are filed.
They have initially been following up with documentation requests to parse out, well, is your business interruption loss simply because of the social distancing orders and the government shutdowns, or have you had some type of on-site contamination? So on our resource page and in prior webinars, we talked about proof points of how you could establish you've suffered some actual contamination. It's not that the insurance companies have turned around and said, if you have actual contamination, we are going to pay out on the claims, but they do seem to be more sensitive to the fact that the issue is more complicated. There are cases out there previous to COVID-19 that said, look, some type of invisible damage, fumes, smoke, all of these things could arguably constitute direct loss or physical damage. So they are more sensitive to the fact that those arguments could be successful in court.
Great. So why put in a claim if the carrier is just going to deny it?
Many people are not. The argument for putting in a claim at this point is simply to preserve your rights. So while everything was shut down from COVID-19, we analogize to a storming process. If a hurricane hits in your area, you don't have to report a property claim damage to your house in the middle of the hurricane. It would be ridiculous. And there's no issues in terms of late reporting to wait until the crisis is passed. And that logic would apply to COVID-19. So there was never any real clock running against the insureds that we could see for not reporting in claims while they've been shut down. Now that businesses are starting to reopen in many jurisdictions, we do see that there is a potential window of time to report it in. Certainly anything that's reported in this summer, we can't see a scenario where an insurance company could say, yeah, your claim was late. Even if there is some subsequent case a year from now that turns things around that said there is a theory of recovery, you can't recover because your claim was late. And that's the logic to it. If you report it, we do think having a more complete report might be beneficial because, again, there seems to be a little bit more hesitancy about these theories of actual contamination. Again, if you go to the Foe and Son resource page for COVID-19, you'll see that we have some worksheets and some talking point documents and webinars to help you to establish that if there's a case a year from now that turns things around, if I had to guess, it's going to be along the lines of a business that had actual contamination. So if your report makes clear that you're in that population, even if they say no now, in theory, down the road, you could turn around and say, well, look, that case changed it, and I'm in the same position, you should pay my claim. And that might be a valid reason just to report something in.
Gotcha, Bertie. And when you say hesitancy, you mean hesitancy to decline a claim when there's been actual contamination at a facility. It seems like the insurance companies are asking a lot more questions around those claims before they do deny them, but they are asking for more information. And if they're asking for more information, it might be because they're a little bit concerned about that angle.
Correct. You use the level of concern that we see from the insurance companies is a good indication. They're not doing it to be kind. They're doing it because their coverage attorneys have advised. At present, there is no slam dunk case against them, but the arguments are stronger against them where there's some actual contamination.
Great. So our website has some great information about how to prepare and submit your claim. There is a workbook, there's a sample claims form, but we do realize also that there's a lot of our clients that want to do this in an expedited manner. So look out in August for some communications from us on how to use a streamlined online claims reporting process that we're rolling out in conjunction with our carrier partners in order to make our clients' lives easier. But again, if you just want to get us the information, we can go ahead and report your claim immediately. Thank you, Bernie, for joining me. This has been another Foe in 15. Talk soon.